Welcome to Next Femme Leaders, a podcast for conscious, ambitious women who want to make a real impact with their careers without losing themselves or their well-being in the process. I'm Isabel, your host, a leadership coach with over 13 years of corporate experience. I know how hard it is to lead in systems not built for us, especially if you're introvert, kind, intuitive, or spiritual. So here, each week, I will share tools that blend the practical and the mystical, the feminine and the masculine, so that you can lead with clarity, confidence, and authenticity. If you know in your bones you're meant for much more, you are in the right place. So let's start. Hello, beautiful woman, and welcome to episode number 9. So how are you and how is this season treating you? If you're in the northern hemisphere, like me, it's summer. And if you're in the southern hemisphere, as I know we have listeners turning in from all over the world, then it's winter for you. I honestly find both extreme seasons quite challenging. Winter being the more yin, summer being the more yang. And I think that's mostly because our society tends to go completely against the nature would do. I always say this for winter, but it's quite the same for summer too. We kind of push productivity in the months that are meant for deep rest, and then we decide to take breaks when we actually have the most energy and creativity. A little bit nuts, right? So on my side, it has been a couple of months filled with social connections, networking, creativity, and giving birth to so many new projects. I have been working with a couple of companies on proposals to work together, and among some of the exciting projects are this podcast, of course, our Female Leadership Accelerator starting in October, and the relaunch of my one-to-one coaching program, Becoming Her, which is kicking off in September. So after 1 year of having this program, we are relaunching it, gaining all the knowledge, the wisdom of what really worked, and all the feedback from the participants. So if you are being called to work deeper in your leadership journey, either one-to-one or in a group setting growing in community, make sure to check the show notes for more details on these two exciting projects. Both projects have been what I usually call a baby of hundreds of mothers, as they have been designed or researched, but also on the feedback of the hundreds of women that work with me in the different modalities that we work together in the last few years. And as a result, I'm so proud of what we have created and I can't wait to start them. And that's why you often hear me talk about them so passionately, because I know all the wisdom that are in these programs. And I have seen the amazing results that they give to the women taking them. And the challenge? Well, with all this happening and with this boost of light and energy, especially for those that are in the summer, sometimes it's really hard to find true moments of restoration and of space to bring in our consciousness and intention into the next season. So as I know this season can be challenging for your conscious journey too, I have a little proposal for you. So my proposal for you is that the next episode, we're going to do a ritual together for the 8th of August. So the 8th of the 8th, the Lion's Gate portal. So if you're listening at the end of July, make sure to mark your calendar to listen in the week of August 8th. The Lion's Gate portal is a significant astrological event that happens every year around 8th of August, when the sun is in Leo. And it is believed to be a time of heightened energy, a potent opportunity for manifestation and spiritual growth. So let's take that moment as a pause together and use that energy to realign with the next phase in your leadership journey. What do you think? Do we have a deal? Also, if you're in Amsterdam in August, we celebrate 2 years of Next Femme Leaders School. Even if that is a recent name that we have, both my company and the women's circles in Amsterdam started 2 years ago. Finally, the first ever women's circle I host was with my sister, also in August, 5 years ago. And the same date of the start of my business is also the date I came to Europe 8 years ago, and I started working in my first job in PwC in Uruguay 15 years ago. So August for me is a moment of celebration. And on the 24th of August, in the late morning, we're having a women's circle to celebrate the journey in the park, probably Rembrandt Park, if weather wants, of course. So if you are in Amsterdam and you would like to join us, drop me a message and I will send the details. This is an event I host with no cost, just for my community and a space for celebrating our journey together. And as a good Latin, I always bring, of course, a birthday cake. Because what would be a celebration without a birthday cake? So now let's go into today's episode, which is really quite related to this hectic season. Because for me, this is a hectic year. And today I want to share 5 leadership lessons that I have learned during a season of transition and change. So if you are in my community or you have been around me, probably you know. But if not, I will tell you. So this year I'm actually getting married. We got engaged at the end of December and our wedding is at the end of September in Ireland. And although these are beautiful news, if I'm very honest with you, I start the year very stressed. Suddenly I was bombarded by so many people I knew telling me things like building a business and also planning a wedding abroad. Oh my god, you will be so stressed this year. Plus, I have to confess, I discovered a whole new industry on Instagram I was not aware of, the wedding industry. Flooding my feed with expectations from decorations to bridal beauty plans that basically involve a 180 degrees transformation. So I spent all my January completely overwhelmed. But then we actually start planning the wedding, and my stress drastically went down. By June, we were 95% done, and looking back, I realized I actually stressed more about the stress I thought I would have than the stress that I actually had. And as I reflect on this on my mid-year reflection review, I thought this was interesting to share. And you might be asking yourself, okay, Isa, what does your wedding have to do with leadership? Which is actually the topic of the podcast. Well, I really believe that life is our best school and that everything, if we allow it, can be a lesson for leadership. So today I want to share with you how, after reflecting on this first half of the year, I took some big life lessons from these last 6 months that I'm using to support my leadership and my business. Also, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this is because a few friends have told me, I see you planning this wedding so relaxed and with so much joy that it makes me hopeful that I can do it the same way someday. And let me be really clear, I don't do everything perfectly, life is life, but it is true that reflecting back, I realized that I have gone through these big changes with more ease than I did a few years ago. And I think there is some learnings there, and sharing is caring. And I also believe we need more stories of ease. In the same way, I see so many mothers receive messages of how hard things should be. And I believe we can all create our own experience. And it doesn't really have to be hard. It might, but it doesn't. Because here is the thing that I'm not sure sometimes we understand. Because stressing about how hard something will be doesn't actually prepare you for when it is hard. But instead, expanding your capacity for joy builds resilience, and that will actually help you during the hard moments. So here are the 5 lessons I wanted to share with you. Lesson number 1, the power of intention. This is something I highlight in all my work. You will hear me talking about this in my events, coaching programs, leadership trainings, I'm basically starting all my meditations with setting an intention. Because I believe we need to start with clarity. Where are we going? And what's important? And for us, coming to the example of my wedding, that meant a date, a clear budget, and our intention. So we sit together and we ask ourselves, what is really important for this? To be a celebration of the love we have. To be a celebration of our relationship. And we pick our 3 priorities: the people, the food, and the music. A room full of 80 of our favorite people in the world, good food, good music, and after that the roof can fall and I will still have the best time of my life. I know it, because that's what matters to me, and in this case to my partner too. And of course, this is super personal, so for you it might be something else, and that's also okay. But bringing this into your career and your leadership journey, bringing it to where you are at this moment. Maybe you're starting a bigger project, maybe you're looking for a new position, maybe you have been recently promoted. Wherever you are at this moment in your journey, what is your intention right now? Stepping into the second half of this year, what would success look like on the 31st of December? And what are your 3 non-negotiables? Just like my 3 priorities. Pick your top 3, not 100, just 3. Because if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority. And if you are currently either driving or either walking, because I know many of you listen to this podcast where you're doing other activities, don't worry, because I will leave you all the questions in the show notes. Second lesson of this big year. Every successful project has a good strategy and a good team. I'm an accountant, so of course it was an Excel. An Excel, a 1-hour meeting every week, and task assigns, both share and individual. Divide and conquer. So a plan, a strategy, and discipline. And somehow, I think when women start discovering spirituality and connecting with the feminine energy again, and this was definitely my case, and I see this in clients too, we somehow start rejecting the masculine, rejecting any structure or discipline. It might feel like boring, it might feel like a cage that takes out your freedom. I once read that this is especially true in countries where there was dictatorships. But I want to offer you a reframe, because I believe we decide how we relate to concepts. And of course, the judgment you have about discipline will allow you to have more or less of it. So for me, discipline gives me freedom. It gives me peace of mind. In the same way that being disciplined with your workouts give you a healthy, pain-free body, in the same way, discipline in your career builds flow and ease when you have a clear intention. Because the feminine energy needs a container to flow. Imagine the feminine is like water, and if we want water to be powerful, then we need a path for it. We need a container. And yes, it's about finding that sweet spot between structure and flow. But that's really where the magic happens. And also asking for and receiving help. And the second part might sound really simple, but behind my ability to accept the help of my partner, to really be a 50-50 work, there has been a lot of inner work. Because I used to believe I have to do everything alone. I kind of Wonder Woman mindset, independent businesswoman. But that was really exhausting. So bringing it to your career right now, where do you need to step up? Is it with more structure and strategy? Or is it by asking more support? Maybe it's delegating at work or at home. So take a moment to pause and really reflect what is in for you in this message, in this second lesson. Lesson number 3, trust your intuition. I found my wedding dress the first and only day we went dress shopping. Most of the vendors we love were actually available for the date of our wedding. Even if for most of the things we were told that weddings start to be planned 2 years ahead, when we only plan it 9 months ahead. So here is what I learned. Listening to my intuition and also not listening to my perfectionism. And yes, you might hear me talk about this too a lot, because I think there is a lot of wisdom and magic in this really balance. And I know this applies to so many of you, because I see it in my clients all the time. So my intuition said, this is it, to the 4th dress that I tried, in the first place that we went. But my perfectionism my inner critic, my self-doubt, was asking in my head, what if there is something even better out there? Should I actually take the dress in the first shop I go? And let me tell you, a few years ago, I was the girl that liked a dress in the first shop that went in the shopping mall and then had to go all around the entire shopping mall to make sure that there was nothing better. So usually it was a waste of an entire afternoon and a lot of energy to really come back to my first instinct. And here is also where priorities help. In my case, and this is really personal, of course, the dress wasn't one of my 3 priorities. And due to my schedule, my business schedule, my work, and the entire planning of all the things, because as I mentioned, it's a big year, not only because of this, because of many things going on. Due to all that, I only had that day. After that, we were traveling to Uruguay for 5 weeks, and coming back, it was going to be too late. So I didn't lose time wondering, what if? And it's the same at work. There are so many shining projects every year that they will be super fun to do. But if they are not priorities, I have to let them go. Because that means being resourceful, using your resources of energy and time and money in the best, most strategized way. And something I have noticed in the last decade is that whenever I follow my intuition, I move so much faster. And even if, of course, I'm not always right, but I'm always learning and I'm always growing. I work with so many intuitive women, and I believe that we, all women, are intuitive if we listen to it. And when we start bringing consciousness to it, it becomes such a secret weapon. So beautiful women, if you are not using your intuition yet, trust your instincts. You will go so much quicker. Now, not listening to my perfectionism doesn't mean I deny it or I shame it. I really treat this part of me as it was a little girl that sometimes do wrong things. And I see it as a little girl because I think this part of me comes from a little girl. Most of these saboteurs, we adopt them when we were between 0 and 8 years. And it was in a time that we thought that was the best way to deal with the world. So I don't really try to kill that part of me, that little girl. But I also don't give it the lead to a 3-4-year-old girl that sometimes is making tantrums. And so I just look this part of me and say, I see you, I get you. There might be a better choice. There might be a better dress outside there. But this time we're not going with over excellence. We're going with good enough. And now coming back to your career and to your leadership journey, I want to ask yourself, how can you leave more space for your intuition? And how can you manage in a better way the perfectionist side of you? The 4th lesson of this big year: cut the noise. As I said at the beginning, I was so overwhelmed on January by all the stress, messages, and expectations until I started planning and kept reinforcing. I'm doing this my way, and nobody outside me will decide how I live it. And starting with not doing it alone. Even though every supplier insists in messaging me directly, my partner has actually been 50-50, hands-on on this process. So other people's experiences don't have to be my experience. And this also applies to your career. Most of our stress comes from perceiving a situation as bigger than us, and in that way perceiving danger. And then all our system keeping those alerts to really survive. So I want to invite you to do this very little exercise. And I start doing this in my journal, and now I do it in my mind as well. So I want you to draw a circle and write the challenges you're facing. This might be becoming a manager, launching a business, starting over in a different country, having a new role that's actually more senior, being the first in something, the first women in the meeting room, the first women in the board of directors. Any challenge that you are facing at this moment. Then I want you to draw a 3 times bigger circle. So you have your circle with the challenge, and 3 times bigger, you draw another circle and write me. And next to this circle, I want you to write all the reasons why you are bigger than the situation. Maybe you already moved countries. Maybe you go through burnout before. Maybe you raise kids while working. Every evidence in the past that you have been bigger than the situation, than a challenging situation. It doesn't have to be the present challenging situation because this might be new. But any evidence of the past that you already face a challenge and managed to be bigger than it. So the fifth and last lesson I want to bring you today is a reminder I kept through all this process, all this wedding planning process. And it's that you are living the days that you will tell your grandchildren about. So this entire year I remind myself, I'm living the days I will tell my grandchildren. We are living at this moment the days that at some point you will look with nostalgia and think, oh, those were the good old days. And whether I'm building a business brick by brick or planning a wedding, I know these are the days that I will remember at some point. Whether it all works or not, I know I will look back on these days as ones filled with learning and joy. And the same happens with this podcast. I know that when I'm in episode 200, I will remember these early days with nostalgia. And all of you who have been listening, sharing, and growing with me. All the conversations we have in the first few days. All your feedback. And the same with this wedding. So I had to try to savor every part of it. The dress shopping with my best friend. Picking the bridesmaids' dresses with my sisters and my friends from Uruguay. Listening to bands with my partner while we choose the music. And this also reminded me when I was little and I had a quote in my room that said, "Many people lose little joys waiting for great happiness." So my beautiful women, I want to bring you this reminder. You are living the moments that will become the good old days. Even if the situation is not perfect, even if this is what we call a not good year, there can be beauty in it. There's actually a beautiful movie I recommend everybody with Will Smith that's called Collateral Beauty. And that's exactly what it's about. I won't spoiler, but go watch it. And I remember 10 years ago, I was in one of my hardest years, just a year after we lost my mom. And still that year, my dad, my sister and I did 2 amazing trips. One to Brazil and one around Europe, where we actually drove all around the south of France, from east to south. And until now, 10 years later, we're still getting everybody bored about us talking about the road trip through the lavender fields, where we were the 3 of us singing French songs in the car. And that was one of our worst years. And still it gave us some of the best moments and some of the best memories and something really special that it didn't happen after. In the later years, both my dad and myself got our partners, I moved abroad, and really we have opportunities for other kinds of trips, but we never had the opportunity again of a trip, the 3 of us. So something horrible as grief actually gave us that chance and that memory that still now we always talk about. So here is your reminder to pause and to celebrate, to remember I'm living a moment that one day it will be a beautiful memory. And I don't want to portray a perfect life because I don't believe in such a thing. And in this same year of celebrating my expanding business and my wedding, I also lost a dear friend and an uncle, both in February. And staying in the duality of life has been a challenge, learning to celebrate between the tears and to allow space for both joy and grief. and to allow myself to hold both, because that's life. And as much as we love to label things as good year or bad year, the truth is the pain and the magic of our human experience coexist all the time. They are two sides of the same coin. So, beautiful women, as always, I want to hear your takeaways. So, write me via email or via Instagram at NextFemLeaders. Share your insights, share a screenshot of the podcast so I know you're listening. And don't forget to follow me on LinkedIn. I'm always sharing valuable tools and insights to support your leadership. And as always, sending you light and love towards your journey. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, let me know on Instagram at NextFemLeaders or send your thoughts and reflections to info@isabelfonseca.com. I truly would love to hear from you. And if it resonates with you, I would be so grateful if you left a review or a comment so that it helps more conscious, ambitious women to find this space. And please don't keep it for yourself. Send it to another woman you know who needs to hear this message today. See you next Monday at 8 a.m. Until then, keep leading with your truth and remember, you already are an ex-fem leader.